A very good day, everyone, and welcome to our latest podcast. My name is Barry Sadler, and today I'm here to tell you a little bit about the implementation of some MARPOL special areas. Before I do, it is that time of year, and we are making this podcast on Boxing Day. So before I start, let's just say, very merry festive season to you all. For those of you at sea, thank you very, very much for doing your duty on ships and allowing global trade to continue over the holiday period. I'm sure you miss loved ones terribly, and those of us ashore who enjoy having gifts at Christmas delivered to us, supposedly by the postman, but originally by sea, as 90% of all imports into the UK do come by, are very grateful for you being on board ships and running those ships in between the various ports of the world. So thank you. Let's talk a little bit now about MARPOL, and in particular the implementation of special areas under MARPOL. Now, the MCA issued MIN 717 on the 18th of December, just 6 days ago, talking about the implementation of MARPOL Annex I and 5 in special areas. Now, it's a little confusing for those of you who have studied MARPOL for a little time, because it essentially says that there are special areas coming into force. But when you read about these special areas, it's quite natural for those of you that have studied MARPOL to think, well, I thought these special areas were already in force. Now, the special areas that I am talking about are mainly the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden special areas, but for the sake of this podcast, I'm just going to focus on the Red Sea, as it has implementation into both Annexes I and 5 of MARPOL. MARPOL, of course, as we know, is the International Convention for Preventing Pollutions from Ships. It's split into 6 annexes. Annex 1 is oil. Annex 2, noxious liquids in bulk. Annex 3 is dangerous goods. Annex 4 is prevention of pollution from sewage. Annex 5 is garbage. And Annex 6 is air pollution. The Red Sea Special Area features in 2 of these annexes. It features in Annex 1, oil, and Annex 5, garbage. Now, first of all, it's important to understand when we bring in a special area into a convention such as MARPOL, what are the steps of bringing in that special area? Now, special areas are areas around the world which have been designated as special for technical reasons, which generally relate to their oceanographical and ecological condition, the movement of water in and out of the actual area itself, the amount of traffic going through, and the special mandatory methods that are required for preventing pollution become a little bit more complex. The Red Sea area is a classic example. Now, the oceans generally have ocean currents which move the water around a huge, vast area of ocean on a seasonal basis. And this helps to disperse anything that may end up in the water. An area like the Red Sea doesn't quite have that amount of circulation within it. And although there are currents within the Red Sea, these currents are minimal, and they basically circulate the water around a relatively confined and small area. The Red Sea traditionally is a very, very busy sea for traffic. Traffic to and from the Far East generally goes via the Suez Canal, through the Red Sea, and then out the bottom and across the Indian Ocean to the Far East. Now, I realise that recently, due to troubles in the southern part of the Red Sea, that route has become less busy, but nonetheless, the future does hold the possibility that ships will once again transit en masse through that area. So because we've got a sea that is very, very much confined, with hardly any currents to disperse anything that's thrown in the sea, with large amounts of traffic moving to and from it, then we've got ourselves a special area under MARPOL. Now, special areas will go through 3 distinct stages when they are identified by the IMO. The first stage is a special area being adopted. Now, special environmental committees within the IMO itself will identify areas like the Red Sea that require more stringent rules being applied to them and propose these areas to the IMO itself. When the IMO have discussed this and voted upon it, the IMO will adopt that special area and adopt the restrictions within the special area as being a requirement of the convention itself. That doesn't mean, though, that the actual convention is in force. Now, what we then happen is we go through something called an acceptance period. And that's basically a period where the adopted set of rules are offered up to the member states, and the member states have the opportunity to ratify those rules. That means that the member states of the IMO go away and write those requirements into their own national legislation. Now, when so many countries representing so many percentage of world tonnage have done that, then it becomes enforceable on an international basis. So, as far as the Red Sea is concerned, this was adopted as a special area on the 2nd of November 1973. To give you an idea of how long ago that was, I was only 4 years old when the Red Sea was adopted as a special area under MARPOL Annex I I'm talking about now. It came into force 10 years later. It came into force on the 2nd of October 1983, meaning that from the 2nd of October 1983, any country that was a signatory to MARPOL, and in particular a signatory in this case to MARPOL Annex I, was required to have within their national legislation requirements that say that the Red Sea was a special area. But even though that happened in 1983, the Red Sea itself, the special area, did not take effect. Now, the reason that the special area did not take effect is because of the lack of notifications from MARPOL parties whose coastlines border that relevant special area. So for that special area to fully take effect, all the parties who are signatories to MARPOL, who have coastlines that border the special area in case, must have declared to the IMO that they have adequate reception facilities within those special areas for the special area to take effect. So what this means is that even though let's say a UK flagship had legislation on board that said that the Red Sea was a special area, that legislation didn't take effect because the relevant parties within the Red Sea had not declared that they had sufficient reception facilities. If you think about it, the whole of MARPOL is reliant on ships being able to land pollution ashore and not put pollution into the sea. So if we don't have those special area reception facilities available, we cannot put into effect the special area, even though our legislation recognises it as being a special area. From the 1st of January 2025, so literally that's in 5 days' time, the Red Sea special area will take effect. That means that essentially the parties involved in the declarations to say that they have sufficient reception facilities have done so, and the 1st of January 2025 has now been set as being the day when the Red Sea special area fully comes into effect. Now, with regards to MARPOL Annex I, that also includes the Gulf of Aden. So Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden under MARPOL Annex I will fully come into effect from the 1st of January 2025. Now, what does that mean in MARPOL Annex I? So MARPOL Annex I, fundamentally we talk about two main types of discharge. We talk about the discharge from machinery spaces of all ships and the discharge from the cargo areas of an oil tanker. So let's just reiterate what this means under MARPOL Annex I. So on or after the 1st of January 2025, any discharge into the sea of oil or oily mixtures from ships of 400 gross tons and above shall be prohibited within the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden special areas, except when the following conditions are met. The ship must be proceeding en route. The oily mixture is processed through an oil filtering equipment meeting the requirements of MARPOL. So this is obviously, as we know it, an oily water separator. The oil content of the effluent without dilution does not exceed 15 parts of oil per million. The oily mixture does not originate from cargo pump room bilges on oil tankers, and the oily mixture in the case of oil tankers is not mixed with oil cargo residues. So that's the discharge requirements that are in effect for any special area, but they're the ones that will take effect in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden from the 1st of January 2025. Now, oil tankers themselves, from the 1st of January 2025, any discharge into the sea of oil or oily mixtures from the cargo area of an oil tanker is now prohibited while they are in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden special areas. So, really important to recognise this milestone that we are reaching on the 1st of January 2025, in that although the Red Sea has been designated a special area, came into force as a special area way back in 1983, because of the lack of declarations made by the coastal states to say that they had the reception facilities to allow the special area to take effect, it hasn't done so. Those declarations have now been received, and so on the 1st of January 2025, that special area fully comes into effect. It's important to recognise that under MARPOL Annex V, the Red Sea is also a special area, and therefore those discharge requirements under MARPOL Annex V, which are applicable to special areas, again fully come into effect from the 1st of January 2025. So the declarations made by the coastal states in the Red Sea were not just declarations about the ability to receive oil and oil residues ashore, but the declarations required to say that they had the ability to have reception facilities for garbage ashore as well. This is now fully in force, and although perhaps from a study point of view it doesn't make a lot of difference, from a legal point of view, it very much does so, in that the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden special areas are now fully in effect. This doesn't affect UK regulation, so to speak, because the UK regulation uses what we call ambulatory reference, which basically means that our laws directly reference MARPOL. And as it's MARPOL itself that's changing, there's no need for the UK to change any of its laws. That's why this is fundamentally an MIN, a Marine Information Notice, and not an MSN, because the actual legislation side of things hasn't changed. We make reference to MARPOL within the legislation, and therefore any changes to MARPOL are automatically dealt with by United Kingdom legislation. As I say, this is, strange name, ambulatory reference this has got. So, that's the changes coming up in effect in literally just 5 or 6 days' time. Thank you all very much for listening to this podcast, and it's a pleasure having you all on board. Look forward to delivering our next podcast in the near future. But in the meantime, it just leaves for me to say, once again, have a wonderful festive period, and all the very best to everybody listening for the new year. May it bring success and prosperity to everybody, and safe voyages to all of those at sea. Thank you all very much for listening, and have a great day, everyone.